Kia ora, good evening. Invercargill City Council has more than halved its originally suggested rates rise for residents. A rates rise of just under 1.4% has been put forward for the 2013 to 14 year. Finance and Policy Committee Chair Neil Boniface says Council will consider the increase next week. An increase of 4.68 had originally been put forward, but Councillor Boniface says budget alterations were made to achieve a recommended rates rise of 1.39%. The increase would translate to around $25 more for a ratepayer currently paying $1,800 a year. A new $5 million satellite tracking station could still be on the cards for Aotearoa. Venture Southland has been working with an international space agency on the project, and while it had been hoped to have a decision by December, Enterprise Projects Manager Robin McNeil says things still look promising.
Pretty promising last week. They were after photographs and images of Invercargill and the site for a promotion presentation they're getting ready, so clearly they're working with their clients, and if they'd thought that it was not going to happen, they certainly wouldn't be asking for that information. So I'm as confident as I could be, is the best way to describe it. We'll know in two months' time exactly where we've got to, but around about 2 months. Sometimes these things take a bit longer.
Now, a decision on this had originally been hoped for in December. Why has it taken so long?
Oh, how long's a piece of string? Well, basically the way the space operations work, it's sort of a whole lot of supplier arrangements and agreements around the world. There's a number of satellite stations. There's a bidding process going on between different Earth stations and different Earth station operators, and yeah, it's not going to be straightforward. Would seem to me that the best way I could judge it is that it's certainly been shortlisted at the moment, but you know, there's no guarantee. There's a lot of work gets done. You know, what are the best orbits that we could look at? Are we going to be a suitable place for some of the orbits that we need to be looking at? What's the cost of implementation setting up? Another wee problem we have here is in New Zealand we've sold some of the radio frequency spectrum to Vodafone, and we're talking to Vodafone at the moment. It's looking pretty good at the moment.
Now, in terms of work, if this proposal was given the go-ahead, when could we actually see work start?
I think would be all go. We'd be pouring concrete, I would think, a few weeks afterwards, and so there's probably a lead time of about 9 months for an antenna that size that would be coming. So within a year it would be up and running.
Now, another different program that Southland is going to be part of next month is the beginning of work for the next ATV launch. Can you tell us about that?
Yes, the automated transfer vehicle launches. We've been involved with them. This will be the fourth one. They've all got names. This one's ATV4 Albert Einstein. I think that's a name most people would know. It's a think of it as a 20-tonne cargo truck that has been launched from the International Spaceport in French Guiana, Kourou. About an hour and 10 minutes after launch, it will come over the back of Bluff, where it will separate from the launch vehicle, an Ariane 5, and will carry on, and after they've done a number of tests, about 3 days later, it will arrive at the International Space Station with food, air, water and fuel for the International Space Station. So we're a very critical part of the launch process, probably the second most critical after the launch itself.
New housing consents have risen 50% since March 2011. Growth has been continuously steady over the last 22 months, according to Statistics New Zealand. Last month, new housing growth rose 9.6%, not including apartments. Auckland and Canterbury continued to contribute to more than half of all new housing consents, as they have almost every month since January 2012. Consents in Southland were down on a year ago, with 8 in January compared with 10 the previous January. Air New Zealand has announced its best interim profit results in 5 years. The company's normalised earnings before tax lifted 300% for the 6 months to December. They were $139 million, up from $33 million in the previous corresponding period. Chairman John Palmer says the result is excellent progress when put against the backdrop of sluggish economic recovery and ongoing challenges in the airline industry. He says based on current prices and forecast demand, the expectation is that normalised earnings before tax will also rise in the second half of the financial year. Still to come, 5 months after a proposal to make Stewart Island cat-free was put forward, what is reaction? Welcome back. There were more than 339,000 people on benefits in New Zealand in the last 3 months of 2012, according to figures released today. Social Development Minister Paula Bennett says benefit numbers were at the lowest level for the quarter since 2008. She says benefit numbers have remained below predictions despite the economic conditions. The unemployment rate for the quarter was below forecast, and the number of young people on unemployment benefits fell to around 15,800, a drop of 22% from December 2011. The Southern Institute of Technology is now in the second year of an agreement with German university Nüttingen-Geislingen University, which is about 180 kilometres from Munich. The agreement's seen the university send exchange students to Invercargill to study, and 2 representatives are in the south this week looking at how the partnership can be expanded. International Affairs Coordinator Gunda Newbar says the partnership is beneficial.
Actually, I think a lot of our students, especially from health and tourism management and from energy and resource management, they would like to go abroad much more, and for tourism it's a must almost. So I think there could be a rise, I don't know, of 50% at least to come over. It depends on SIT if they want to have such a lot of students coming over from Germany, or especially from our university.
Now, you mentioned as well that you wanted to expand and do staff exchanges and some research. Can you explain what you're hoping to do there?
You know, it's also for our professors a quite interesting thing to study, no, not to study, but to work in a university abroad, so that they can just come here for half a year and teach some lectures. The same would apply to the lecturers from SIT come to our university and do the same. And of course, it would improve the offer of English taught classes in our university. So therefore, that would always be a good idea.
Now, is this an exchange that will see students from SIT go to your university as well?
They could come if they would like to come, if they want to come. But actually, it's sometimes the question of language, of course. We offer some lectures in English, but I don't know if it's enough for the SIT students that they can take part in these classes and get it accredited back home. That we have to find out, and this is what we are talking here about now.
Economist and environmental campaigner Dr. Gareth Morgan caused controversy around the country with a proposal to make New Zealand cat-free. His vision for the eradication of cats, rats and possums on Stewart Island to protect native species was heard at a meeting on the island last year. We visited the island recently to see what the islanders had to say 5 months on. Pest control on Stewart Island is not new. The Department of Conservation's been using 1080 poison for 10 years with good success. But environmental campaigner Dr. Gareth Morgan says more controls are needed to avoid extinction of some species and to protect biodiversity. It's a concept Dock Ranger Brent Bevan agrees with.
And there's been a whole raft of new technologies come along, so there's a whole lot of options opening up now in front of us, and I think that's probably the next step, is to have a good look at all these options and then bring them back and see what's the best step forward.
Mr. Bevan supports the proposal by Dr. Morgan to make the island pest-free by removing cats and other predators, but insists no final decisions have been made.
What Gareth Morgan's trying to do is to get a commitment from Doc and other people to go away and have a look at this and map out exactly how would we go about it and get all that down on paper, a roadmap in a sense. And if we can bring that back, once he's got that created, we can bring it back to the community and the rest of New Zealand, and we've got a clear picture of what's involved, and that's the stage we're talking about at the moment.
Resident Marty Papers is concerned about some of the methods that could be used and says baiting with an anticoagulant such as brodifacoum could damage the lucrative hunting industry.
It's a good earner for a lot of operators in Bluff, Invercargill and Stewart Island, including Stewart Island flights. The hunting blocks are booked out pretty much 12 months of the year. You've got to book a year ahead if you want to get a decent block.
Meanwhile, the suggestion by Dr Morgan that domestic cats are a pest and could be eliminated through natural attrition is a concern for resident cat lover Vicky Coates.
Well, as a cat owner, I don't actually see a problem with cats on Stewart Island, as long as they're neutered. Obviously, feral cats are a problem, but if you have a domestic cat at home and it's neutered, it's not that big of a deal. I mean, sure, they will catch the occasional bird, but they'll kill more rats than, birds. So dogs would be as much as a problem in killing other natives as well, but no one seems to have it in for them.
Last month, Dr Morgan launched a campaign to rid New Zealand of domestic cats, claiming their threat to wildlife was too great. People on the streets shared their thoughts about New Zealand becoming cat-free.
Oh, I think that would be an excellent idea.
Why?
Well, I'm not a cat lover. Cat-free nation sounds like a good idea.
Cat-free as in 24/7? No, I'm not happy about that.
Why?
Well, I've got a cat, she lives inside. She's alright, she doesn't catch anything.
I'm against feral cats and the wild cats that are killing our native birds, but there's lots of lovely home cats in our homes, and good luck at trying to make it cat-free.
Dr Morgan has indicated he will assist financially on Stewart Island. Eradicating the island of pests could cost at least $35 million. Who picks up the bulk of the tab and exactly what methods would be used if the proposal were to go ahead are yet to be decided. Margot Sutherland, South Today News. Coming up in sport, Southern Steel assistant coach Natalie Alavilino. That's after the weather next. From the news team, good night.